Welcome to Sport Bike Girls, the podcast for women who are obsessed with sport bikes and all things motorcycle. Come join the ride. Hello, Sport Bike Girls, and welcome to episode 8. It's cold and dreary here in Connecticut, but I have a whole slew of ladies from both Connecticut and the Northeast that will be joining me as guests over the next few weeks, and I am so excited to share their stories with you. From three-wheelers to wrenches and more, you are going to love what they have to say. I am thrilled to introduce you to today's guest, Cris Simmons. Cris Simmons is an absolute icon. Her ride of choice may be a Harley, but she has hands down done more for women in motorcycles than pretty much anyone. Not just through her extensive work as a motorcycle industry writer and editor, but by example, living the most badass life on two wheels. Cris has been instrumental in preserving and celebrating the long and fascinating history of women in motorcycles, as well as supporting and encouraging new riders, like myself, who are just joining the ranks. Her contributions to the industry have been priceless, and she has lots more up her sleeve. There is a whole new generation of women bikers who need to hear her story, and I want to help tell it. Stay tuned. Hey, Sport Bike Girls, thank you so much for being here. I am about to interview one of the most incredible women in the motorcycle industry, Sommer Simmons. She has been a motorcycle rider from a very young age. She's done incredible things throughout her career. She is a journalist, writer, Cannonball endurance racer. It's just absolutely endless, the things that she's done. And unfortunately, we can really only in this short podcast kind of just hit the tip of the iceberg here. But I really just want to share her story and all that there is to know about her as much as we can in this short time for a whole new generation of women. I know I sadly only learned of her myself just a few months ago and all of her contributions. Unknowingly, I was actually a reader of Harley Women years ago and just never made the connection. I used to find copies in my local library. So, I've been dreaming of riding for a very long time. And that was definitely one of my inspirations, Cris, no question, that incredible magazine. But let's just start. Same question I ask all my guests. What's your current ride?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to
thank you.
Be talking to you. I've been following your show and it's really cool. And I thought sport bike rider, I don't really have a sport bike, but we're all riders and it's two wheels, right?
Correct. We are all riders, and what you've done for women in general in the industry, we all wouldn't be doing what we're doing or want to do if you hadn't played the role that you have. So thank you for that.
My small part. Thank you. There's so many that came before me, I just want to keep it going, and it's so nice to see the new generation and younger women coming up, and I'm just really excited about it. But my current ride, I don't ride anything that new. I mean, I have a current old ride. My newest bike is an 88.
Wow. Okay.
Heritage, and that's even old now. It's vintage, I believe. But I ride 1915 Harley and a 1934 Harley. I mostly do cross country vintage rides on them. Which is really fun. I mean, I do, go around town a little bit too and stuff like that, but mostly and I keep them in California. I'm in Hawaii right now, but I keep the bikes in California. But they're a lot of fun to ride. They're a challenge to ride. And I think that's what makes it more fun for me, to challenge myself and the old bikes.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you don't have a bike that you keep on Hawaii with you just to kind of zip around on, or?
I have my 88 Heritage.
Oh, okay. That one's there with you.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I recently posted a picture on my Instagram feed of you with your 1915 Harley Davidson. It's the 3-speed V-twin. You nicknamed it Effie. I see the picture there in the background. So I'm hoping later when we get into the Cannonballs that you've participated in, that you're going to share with us the significance of that name of your bike.
Sure will.
Okay, great. Yeah. So like I said, it's going to be really hard to synthesize this incredible body of work into a cohesive discussion here, but we're going to do our best. There's so many fun things I do want to talk to you about, everything from how you first started to your recent trip to Daytona, what your thoughts are on women in the industry now and ridership and how we're being represented. So I really would love to share your opinions on that with my listeners. Just want to touch on a few other things. You are an honorary lifetime member of Women in the Wind. You are a lifetime HOG member. You're a member of the Antique Motorcycle Club of America. You have been inducted into the National Motorcycle Hall of Fame, as well as the American Motorcycle Heritage Foundation Motorcycle Hall of Fame. So it's just so incredible, Cris. It really is. Let's start with that very first bike. So you said that you began riding on the back of your stepdad's bike, right?
Yeah, I was 9 or 10, and I still remember like it was yesterday, even though I'm going to be 65 this year. But yeah, I mean, I can still remember the sound of it. And I was like so thrilled to be my stepdad would take me for a ride. And then pretty soon it was more rides. And then pretty soon my mom wasn't going for rides. It was me. Wow. We'd go, if it was just to the grocery store, I'd carry the grocery bag. But, I mean, I was just it just so much, the feeling of it, the freedom, the wind in my face, I just, as a little kid, I just was thrilled with it. I didn't realize it would just kind of like take over my life as it has. But I remember when I was about 13 or 14, the guy in the corner from where I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, next to some vacant lots so we could ride our bikes around. But the guy in the corner had a Sportster, and I remember hearing him fire that bike up, and I ran out of the house because this incredible sound. I had to find out what it was, and it was a Sportster, Harley Davidson Sportster. Oh, wow. I started riding with the local, the kids in the neighborhood, the teenagers in the neighborhood, and got my first bike, a Yamaha Twin Jet 100. My mom was a pretty awesome person. She was my biggest fan. She's been gone 5 years now, but if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be riding because she was so supportive. Even I had 5 brothers that ended up teaching 4 of my brothers how to ride. I was the first one in my family to ride motorcycles. But my mom was just very supportive, and all the neighbor kids had them. And, I rode all, in the Wonder Bread parking lot with all my friends, and we ride on the railroad tracks. And, it was just kind of like, I loved doing it. And then I got into high school, and I kind of like, for a few years I didn't ride. I think I sold my bike. It was just, there weren't any other girls doing it at the time, but I never saw one.
Right.
I heard about one time, but I never really saw one. So I didn't ride for a few years in high school. And then fast forward, I met my first husband when I was a senior in high school. And I met him because of his bike, because somebody knew that I like bikes. And a friend I worked at the post office said, "Hey, you're going to meet this guy. He has a Harley." And I was like, "What kind of Harley?"
I love that's the first question.
Yeah. Well, we ended up being together for 13 years, but, and then I didn't ride, I rode on the back of his bike, and I was totally happy to ride. And then one day he goes, "I know you want to ride this." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know if I can, and he just got off the bike and left it running, and then told me to get on and ride it. And I got on, and I just sat there, and the bike just, was a shovel head, like a 1970 shovel head or something. And I ended up riding it all around the block. I just kept going around and around and around. And I go, "Oh my God, I didn't know this was so easy. I thought it was going to be such a heavy, because when you first look at a bike, especially when you're a woman, you can be a little intimidated.
Yeah.
Like,
oh no, that's big, true.
And,
for sure.
And I was like 125 pounds, and I was a little tiny, tiny skinny thing. But I got on, and it just felt so good. So then I had to get my own, of course. So I got my license and I got a Sportster. That was like 1979 or something like that. I can't even remember the years, but I got a Sportster. I rode that for quite a while. I rode it across country. I rode it from Chicago to Seattle and back. That's the thing. Once you start that long distance thing, to me, that's my happy place.
Okay.
And I think everybody has to find their happy place on their motorcycle. If they, some people don't like to do the long stuff. Some people like to do the short stuff. But to me, that's my Zen place where I go.
Well, that's fascinating. I love that. And I just, the thought of a 14-year-old girl, see, this is even before you could drive a car, you were riding a motorcycle.
Yeah, definitely knew how to ride a motorcycle before I drove a car. I didn't think about that, but you're right. Yeah.
I love that so much. It's so great. When did you decide to become a writer? I mean, were you working previous to that, or?
It was all by accident because I was not the best student. I'm not college educated at all. I went went to work at the post office right out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a journalism class in high school, and I kind of liked it. But, I was a B student, I didn't really, I got this job at the post office. I delivered mail. And then I had this bike shop on my route, and they always got motorcycle magazines. And I thought, yeah, there's all these guy magazines, but there was really nothing for women. So I was also already a member of Women in the Wind.
Okay.
I joined them in like the early 80s. That I enjoyed it. And so my girlfriend and I, Jo Vanoni, who was my co-founder for Harley Women magazine, we got together. I met her at the Harley shop. She was one of my riding partners, one of the only women that I knew in the area who rode. And we kind of would ride together on my days off and on her days off and go do stuff together. So we met Becky Brown from Toledo, Ohio in 1979. She had started Women in the Wind. Okay. And she asked us to do the newsletter. So it kind of morphed into, I got this idea. It was really my idea. It was kind of like, let's start a magazine. We had no idea what the hell we were doing. I had borrowed my mom's Canon Sure Shot camera and a typewriter, when you had to type things.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
Computers even. I'm really dating myself. But we decided to make a magazine, and she worked at the Harley shop, so she knew some people in Milwaukee. And we ended up trying to, we thought, well, what do we want to name it? Harley Women. Thinking at it now, we probably cut a lot of women out of her. It could have been more broad, find other women. Sure. But that's what we knew.
But that was your passion. That's where you were coming from.
Right. That was our part of the culture. The subculture was we were into the Harley life, So we went up to Milwaukee with our little storyboards and got a meeting with these big shots at Harley. I don't know how we did it. And they went, yeah, we like what you're doing. We're going to support you. Oh, so they licensed us for $1 a year. I don't know if I should even talk about that. $1 a year to use the name Harley in our magazine.
Wow.
And I did it for 5 years with her. And then I ended up selling my half to her because my life had totally changed. I had 2 kids by that time. And it was just, doing a magazine with 2 people it's so much work.
Oh my gosh. I can only imagine.
So in the meantime, I started the magazine in 85. My daughter was born in 84. My second child, my son, was born in 86. And then I got divorced around 1988. So, it kind of all went, my life was just very strange the way it went. But then I met this guy named Pat Simmons out in Sturgis at the Harley rally. He was playing with his band, the Doobie Brothers, show for muscular dystrophy for Harley Davidson. I met him through we had some mutual friends that worked for Harley, and they invited me to the show, and I met Pat, and it was just kind of too good to be true because he was so sweet and kind, and we just talked motorcycles. I mean, we didn't really talk about music. It was just like, he'd never met a woman who rode motorcycles, and I was divorced, and I'd met a lot of guys, celebrity riders,
right.
People like that. We'd get off at the first exit, that kind of thing. But he is such a motorcycle nut, and we've been together ever since. So that was 1989.
You've really done some beautiful things together. You've done a Cannonball together.
Yeah, we did a lot of stuff. We still talk about motorcycles every day. It's just like we've been together 32 years. I think I don't know. We don't count years, like kind of forget, but I was very blessed to meet someone who was such a kindred spirit. Let's put it that way. And lucky that he, and he had some old bikes that he had never ridden. He'd been on the road for so many years. He rode them a little bit, but never really like, hey, let's get these bikes running someday. We found out about the Cannonball in 2009. And I said, God, you should do this, right? It's perfect for you. You have a bike. It had to be like a 100-year-old bike. And he goes, oh, I can't do it. I'm working. Why don't you do it? And me, without even thinking, said, sure. And I never rode something that old with a foot clutch and a hand shift, So that was a whole other learning experience. I'm kind of taking over your show here. Sorry. But
Criss, this is your show. This is your episode, your show. So
well, it's kind of the chronological thing that, when you look at your life, I mean, it goes so fast, people say that, but it's true, Yeah. My dad's 92 and he's almost 92. He's like, yeah, the closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. It's like a roll of toilet paper, I mean, silly, but anyway, yeah. So Pat and I did a lot of riding together and a lot of traveling with his band together. And we got these bikes running. We got the bike running enough where I could learn how to ride it a little bit, but then we had to send it off to California to get somebody to go over the motor. Hadn't been started in who knows how many years. It's 1915, and he had in the corner of the garage.
Oh my! Wow.
He had it probably for 30 years before I even met him. We brought it back to life, and that is the most amazing sound. You fire something up that's been sleeping for so long.
A literal piece of history that you just
yeah.
resurrected back to life.
Yeah. And what's really weird is I did, I did a kid's book in 94 called Patrick Wants to Ride for my children.
Mm-hmm.
A little boy wants to ride a motorcycle, which was a really successful book for a self-published book. I think I sold 20,000 copies, but I did some writing for some other magazines after I got out of Harley Women in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of freelancing I wrote for a Japanese magazine called Hot Bike Japan for 14 years. I had a column.
My. Okay.
And then American Iron for several years.
Right.
Stuff with them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, my lifetime, I'd always wanted to do a women's history book, like a coffee table book of photos of old women. So I'd been saving them for years and years. And finally, I think I turned 50 and I went, oh my God, I didn't do this book yet. I better get going,
Right.
So
that was in 2009.
Right. It came out in 2009. So it took me about 3 years to do the research for the American, it's called the American Motorcycle Girls.
Yeah, that's a long
1900 to 1950. And it was all mostly old photos. And I did this book before I even thought about doing the Cannonball, which is so weird because I had spent 3 or 4 years deep into this research of this book with these old motorcycles. And here I am. Actually, it's almost like I went into my book because I became one of those women riding those old bikes. It's so weird, I just thought I didn't plan it. Let's put it that way. It just happened. But so I'm having fun with the book still. And then in 2010, I did the first Cannonball. There was one other woman from Germany riding a 1907 JEP. She did really well. I did pretty good out of the 46 riders. I think I came in 22nd place.
There was only 2 women in that race. Is that correct?
Yes, 46 men. And it was a little intimidating because when you get to the start line, I'd only like 80 miles practice on this bike, on the foot clutch. I couldn't, I could start it, but it was really, it's kick start and hand shift, and you got it's a magneto, and there's so many things you have to think about.
This race started in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and this one went all the way to California to Santa Monica. Is that right?
Yes.
Let's just backtrack for a second. For those people who don't understand what a cannonball is, could you just give a little brief description of what that is and what it entails?
Started in 2010. A guy named Lonnie Isom Jr. had a vision of taking 100-year-old motorcycles across the country. No one had ever done it. I mean, some people had, there's a guy you heard about that did this and some guy did that. But as a group, no one had ever really done it. It was about 200-300 miles a day. And all these people signed up. And we had no idea. We thought maybe 12 would make it. Almost everybody made it. It was pretty amazing, really.
Okay.
But
did you have wrenches along the way with you to help you if anyone broke down and stuff?
Oh, yeah. The Cannonball, you have a chase truck. Okay. Your mechanic and your chase team have to go ahead to the hotel and meet you there. They're not allowed to help you during the day.
Oh, I see.
Other riders can help you. You can fix your own bike if it breaks down. But they have a sweep truck that can pick you up and put you on and bring you to the next town where your mechanic will be waiting for you.
Oh,
so I kind of wanted to make a statement. So I had an all-girl crew on this first Cannonball. So I had, and it's an endurance race. It's not a race who gets there first. It's a timed event. You leave at the same place in the morning, end up the same place. It's just you have to get all your miles within the allotted amount of time. I see. If you break down, you get picked up, and then they get the miles for that day that you made, and then you get miles deducted for the miles that you don't have.
Okay.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But I had an all-girl crew. I had a girl mechanic. Athena Chicky Ransom was my mechanic, and Laura Clock was my Bonneville speed racer. Laura Clock was my crew chief. Okay. My daughter came along for part of it, and we had someone else coming along. And my husband joined up in day 4.
Nice.
Because he had to work. He was out there working. Somebody has to work, right? So anyway, it was like Charlie's Angels when Pat joined. But it was really fun, and it's hard because the Cannonball is an endurance race. I mean, endurance is I really didn't know what that word meant because you're out at 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. and you're riding an old bike, and you have to stop every 50, 60 miles for gas. Oh my!
Oil,
start them again.
That must be a major problem.
And oil, they go through oil. It's a total loss oil system, which means it goes out on the guy behind you on your chain. So you have to make sure you bring oil with you. There's a lot of things you have to do to keep it running. And then you have the weather. it's hot, it's cold, it's this, it's that. It's rain. We've ridden in torrential rain, unbelievable weather, freezing cold, hot.
Okay, and this is fun to do. Why?
And sometimes all in one day. You have to do that.
Yeah.
So you got to carry, rain gear, I've learned, a lot of things about myself too. I mean, it's really, you don't know how tough you can be until you have to, and I've done it 4 times. So people go, how come you're not doing it again? Because I've done it 4 times and I don't need to do it again. I did it in 2014 on my 34 Harley from Daytona to Tacoma. And 2016 was Atlantic City to San Diego on my 15 Harley. Then the last one was Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon on my 15 Harley. So that little bike, Effie, I can tell you she's named after Effie Hotchkiss, the first woman to ride across the United States with her mom on the same make and model Harley Davidson. That's 11J model, 1915. So Effie and I have been through a lot together. She's been in some museums. She's in California right now. And when I get there, I actually go in the garage and I kiss her. It's kind of sad.
No, it's actually really beautiful. You two have such a bond. How could you not? Just to get back to your book. I mean, this is a 240-page hardcover book. I don't own it, but I have seen it. I've held it. It is glorious. It is just a beautiful masterpiece of a book. The photographs. I had to jot this down. There's actually, you mentioned there's a reprint of a New York Times article in the headline. This is from 1911. And the headline is "Motorcycling Fad Strikes Fair Sex."
I'd say in a big way.
Right. Right. But it's amazing how, on the one hand, it's almost like condescending towards women, like all this early, inclusion with them, like even putting them, these beautiful women posing on motorcycles on the cover, which, we still see today, just to sell some magazines. But just these women were just, fighting against these societal norms and really just blazing their own way. And it's just, this is what I want to do.
Right. People ask me that, how long have women been riding? Well, I'm like, how long have men been riding? Because women have been riding as long as men. I mean, I proved it I found the research. It's there.
Yeah.
They were treated a little weird. It's like sometimes the captions would say, instead of saying, Sally Field was out riding her motorcycle, it's like Mrs. F.G. Field. I mean, they didn't even use their first names. Right. I mean, it was all about the men. Yeah. But yet these women were out there and they were doing it. I mean, Clara Wagner, in 1910 riding in her first endurance race, almost 300 miles and actually winning, the race. Yeah. And then we have people like Dot Robinson from the 30s and 40s.
Bessie Stringfield. Yeah.
Bessie. I mean, there's so many. And that's why I really wanted to do that book. It was so important to me to have people remember them and to tell their stories. So younger people would know their names, who they were. It's like, people say what I did, but no, I wasn't the first. I'm just helping to bring their stories to the front where they belong.
I can absolutely relate to that. Yeah. Just wanting to carry on stories. Yeah. I love that.
Sure. And after the 2010 Cannonball, I thought, I'm never going to do that again. So we never thought there'd be another one. So I wrote it. I kept a journal, I kept a diary, and I did a book about that too, the Cannonball book. But you can find my books, shameless plug, on my website.
Yes.
CrisSimmons.com. It's Criss with no H, thanks to my mom. Criss, CrisSimmons.
I will absolutely post that on my Instagram so people can find them. Yeah, and they're all still in print, right? All still available?
Cannonball, I'm just about out of, but and the kids' book I've been out of for years. But the big book, the American Motorcycle Girls, I've got some of those now. Fantastic. And I'm good with the book. So hit me up.
Beautiful. Yeah, we absolutely have to do that. Everybody needs to own a copy of this glorious book. I read an article, it was published a few years ago, called The Ambassador, because that's really what you are, an ambassador for this industry, written by Thunder Press. And you're talking about your, the influence that your first magazine, Harley Women, had. And I love this quote. And it says, this is you. "Some men don't like seeing women ride. God forbid a woman would get her independence," she said. "Now, a lot of younger women come up to me saying, I inspired them. To me, that means that the magazine really did mean something." That's got to feel so great.
Yeah. And you know what's really cool? It's still happening. I mean, that magazine that was so many years ago. I mean, my gosh, so many years ago. But the wonderful thing about that magazine was, it's still going on. I don't know if people even realize that, but it was sold. It became Asphalt Angels, and it was called Woman Rider.
Oh, okay.
Same magazine. And now it's Women Riders Now. It's Genevieve Schmidt was the editor of Woman Rider, and she took it over and actually made it an online magazine.
Oh, okay. So
And
that's just the
Mhm.
evolution of that.
Yeah,
Oh,
and she
okay.
sold it, and it's still, a couple of other girls, Sarah
Of
Schilke and
course.
Aaron Sills, and everybody has it. But it's still women writers now, and it's our magazine that morphed, and it's still going after how old is my daughter? 39 years now that magazine's been going. It's
Wow.
pretty crazy.
Now, after you sold that, you were the women's editor for American Iron, which unfortunately closed up in 2020. Like you said, you've written for many other industry magazines, both in the U.S. and abroad. Are you still actively writing, or?
I'm still freelancing. I just did an article for the new Easy Rider Classic,
Oh,
which
fantastic.
is really cool. I know I met the new publisher, and I said, this is the magazine I always wanted it to be, because I
Oh,
love the lifestyle stuff and the technical stuff, but I didn't like, all the girly stuff in there. It wasn't like,
yes.
it wasn't really a woman's magazine. But now it's more of like, they still put a pretty girl on the cover, but it's not. I think the motorcycle industry publishing has definitely changed. It's morphed, to treating women with more respect and is more as equals. Because you look at, these. I mean, look at the events. I'll start with, the women's events now. They have Babes Ride Out. The leaders have, there's women's shows. There's a Moto Maiden Art Show my friend Savannah puts on.
Oh,
There's all
okay.
these
Yeah, I'm hoping
cool
to talk to her
events.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, Savannah's someone you should have on. She's such a cool. She's my other adopted daughter.
Oh,
So,
wonderful.
yeah, but there's just so many cool events for women. And then the AMCA, you had Karen Andrea on, and they had, she helped start this chapter of the Riveters, which
Yes.
for the AMCA, which people don't know, the American Motorcycle Antique Motorcycle Club. She started a chapter for a women's chapter.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait to join. I have my little sticker right here.
Oh, wonderful.
The Riveters, and it's so cool. So then she decided, let's do a ride. So I thought, do I want to do another ride?
I think we're talking about Chicks on 66, right?
Chicks on 66.
Yes.
So here we go again. And I love it that it's not an endurance ride. It's not a
Cannonball.
It's raining really hard. Maybe I won't ride it that day. Put it up in the trailer. But I'm going to take my old bike. I'm going to take my 34 out again. I rode in and I have to backtrack. In 2019, I did another ride put on by the same people who do the Cannonball, called the Chase. It was the first year they did the Chase, the cross-country Chase. The difference between the Chase and the Cannonball being that the Chase, you had to carry all your own tools, or you didn't have a mechanic with you. You had to work, everything had to be on your bike. Where on the Cannonball, you can keep your extra boots in the trailer and your rain gear and just tools and that, your clothes, everything. But in the Chase, you had to put everything. So I had a bread basket on the back of my bike. An actual bread basket that we put on there. So I carried all my stuff, and I actually I did really well. I had a perfect score. That was Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, down to Key West.
Oh my!
And that was 2019. So a little bit before COVID started, and that's the last time I really had that bike on any long adventures.
Okay.
So it's been kind of sitting. So I've been working on getting that bike up to do the Chicks ride. I thought, let's, go. It's going to be 40 women, and we're leaving from Milwaukee, I think June 11th. And she wanted to start in Chicago, which I was like, oh, I'm from Chicago. I don't know if I wanted to start on the lakefront.
Oh, so the start changed. It's now Milwaukee?
It's Milwaukee because Harley joined up. Harley got in as a sponsor, which was really great for Karen.
Yes.
And she's having a couple girl mechanics come along. My friend Athena Chicky Ransom is going to come along, another girl named Gypsy. So I have a couple women mechanics. And the guy from the Cannonball, Jason Sims, is going to bring his sweep truck. He's graciously donated his time to bring his sweep truck, and hopefully I won't have to be on there with my bike, but it's nice that he will be there if I needed him.
Absolutely.
It's going to be really fun. And it's going to be, all women from different ages and lifestyles and different brands of motorcycles. It doesn't really matter,
I love that. That is so, I hope it's a spectacular success. I truly do. I so loved talking with Karen. She was so gracious to be interviewed, and even more gracious to introduce me to you. So I am forever grateful to her for that. So I hope it's a wonderful success for for everybody. She's like,
Yeah.
oh girl, you got to come. I'm like, I need my license first.
Oh gosh, you don't have your license?
I'm still working on it. I'm taking the motorcycle safety foundation course here in June in Connecticut where I live. So
wonderful.
Yeah, so working and studying towards that. But
sure.
So sharing my crazy journey as well as, sharing the successes of all the women who've come before. So
yeah, and it's exciting to see all these younger women. I'm just like, every time, I was in Sturgis last year for a couple of days. Last year, yeah. And it's nice to see all these women come, younger women, millennial women.
Yes.
And younger even. And they're so enthused, it's just fun for me to see them. And then having the events, like I said, the babes ride out, the leaders, there's always something going on for women. All you have to do is look at Women Riders Now. They've got a whole page, all the events coming up for women, which are really exciting. There's some of them racing at Sons of Speed and Daytona. There's women doing in the bike shows now. They're building bikes. So, people like Jessie Combs really encouraged women to get in there and work with your hands and build your own bike, learn how to weld.
It's such a great turn of events for everyone involved, really. Yeah, actually, in an upcoming episode, I'll be talking to two ladies from the Central Connecticut leaders, and I absolutely cannot wait. They are just so sweet. In their 20s, riding maybe like 5-6 years, they took over the chapter from someone who retired, and now, they're forging ahead with a whole new group of generation of women their age and older, like really diverse. Many other women that I've already interviewed and spoken with are saying, not that they're disagreeing with the millennial, because I know that it's the millennials who are driving the surge in motorcycle sales. But there's also a wonderful turn of women over 40 who for the first time are getting into motorcycling. I mean, I'll be 55.
Wow, awesome.
And I've wanted to.
Good for you.
I've wanted to do this for 30 years, but I feel like women, we almost wait for someone to give us permission to do the things we want to do.
Right.
In your heart and your mind, what you want, what's meaningful to you. And it's like, it's time. I don't.
Sure. Well, sometimes life gets in the way, sometimes life gets in the way and you have to wait till the time is right. And
no question.
Same for everybody. Everybody's on a different journey. Yeah. I would look at women like the motor maids. I mean, some of these women that I've admired for so many years, my friend Gloria Tremont and Struck, who I'm going to see in a couple of weeks. She's going to be 96 years old. I mean, the stories that she has, and just hanging out with her and getting to know her. I met her in 2007 when I did my book and I joined the motor maids, and that's a whole other culture of women. These women ride. I mean, they are just so dedicated to what they do and have that club for so many years.
Yeah, that's really like the original, like the grand dame of motorcycle clubs for women.
Oh yeah, and they're still going. I mean, how many years is it? It's over 70 years for them.
That is so great.
I'm a proud member of the Motor Maids also, and
beautiful. Another
woman I met years ago was from WIMA, WIMA, Women's International Motorcycle Association.
Okay.
Her name was Louise Sherbin. She's passed away many years ago, but she started the WIMA and it's still going. It's all over the world. That one.
That's great.
So you've got them. I mean, there's so many women's groups, like you said, for so many different ages. And it's nice to, I talk about the younger women because they are the ones that are keeping it going. But don't forget about the older women too, because we've been in there for a while too.
You bet. Yeah.
It's all good.
For so many years as a single mom, taking the time to learn to ride, to, invest the time and money, it just seemed like a really selfish luxury, and it's like, it someday in the future, well, the future is here now. So
and then, you know what, it seems like I'm going to start probably slowing down more in my riding, and you're just picking up speed. So it's just everybody, like I said, everybody has their own timeline in their life, what works when, and, not that I don't want to keep riding, but sometimes it's a little hard on the body.
Yeah.
Some of the rides I've done, because the bikes, it's funny because I rode a new Harley last year, and I hadn't ridden anything new in like 12 years. And I was so scared, because I didn't know how to turn it on.
Oh, wow.
I asked the guy, all these buttons. I mean, it's nice. The gas gauge one was really good. You could tell how much gas, because in the old days, you just open up the tank and you'd squiggle it around, you just shake it to see how much you got in there. Right? I mean, seriously. Yeah, seriously.
Oh my
So, I
God.
mean, new bikes are wonderful. And I'll tell you, I really enjoyed riding it. And I wasn't sore. Like with my bike, it beats me up. It's a hardtail. There's no suspension.
Oh my.
And
Okay.
at my age, I start feeling it. At the end of the day, my back starting to
Oh, I
hurt.
would
And
be too. I would
start
be.
getting crabby, complaining.
And plus you have a beautiful family and grandchildren that you want to spend
Oh,
time with
thank you.
too. So that
Yeah.
certainly takes
Yeah.
up time.
And my husband's still working. He's getting ready to go out on tour again.
I heard 50th anniversary tour.
Yeah,
That
they
is
got delayed
spectacular.
because of COVID, but
Of
now
course.
they're getting it back together again, and it's been so fun
That
to
is
watch
so
them
exciting. I
all these
definitely want to
years.
touch on that
Mhm.
fantastic video series that you had, Coast to Coast.
Mm.
You started that in 2020. I think the last episode you did was maybe about 8 months ago or so. I think with Nikki Kleiner. Is that right? That's the episode. I was watching that
Yeah,
last night.
yeah. It was so fun. I really miss it. I was talking to my co-host in Daytona, Michael Lichter,
Yeah.
who I've known since 1986. We met in Daytona at Bike Week in '86, and we've been friends all these years. And it was really interesting because it was a women's motorcycle show. We
Yeah.
interviewed women from all over
Yeah.
the world.
Mhm.
They're all different types of riders, all ages.
Mhm.
And, having a dude for, a guy for a co-host, but, he knows everybody. And he knows more of the younger people than I know because he's out doing the shows and he's, still in the industry way more than I am. But
the two of you complement each other beautifully, and he's a great interviewer. You would share stories of ladies from your book and stories of your own life. So I mean, it was such a beautiful compliment.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We love doing it. We did 49 episodes. We were just about to hit number 50.
Oh.
And I think what happened was, I think Cyclosource Media Group, who was the guy who produced and engineered the show. I mean, Michael and I produced it. We found all the guests and did all the legwork, getting the photos and interviews lined up and stuff like that. But he and Chris Callan from Cyclosource Magazine, I love Chris and Heather, but they were so cool because this is kind of like a millennium, during the pandemic thing. Everybody was home.
Yeah.
Nobody, a lot of motorcycle events were canceled. They have a magazine and they were kind of like, okay, let's figure out what we're going to do to keep people engaged. And it was really cool because I did it right from my office. I'm in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. I did some from California. Mike's in Boulder, and Criss, our engineer, was in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Wow. Yeah.
So we were all over the place, and we met so many cool women, and I just love doing it. I don't know if we're going to do it again. He got busy, again, life got in the way. He got so many events and so many magazines. You can only do so much with 24 hours a day.
Of
and,
course.
I don't blame him. So he said, I just don't have time to do it. So we're still thinking about, we'd love to do something else. Mike's still doing some stuff for Dennis Kirk. He writes a blog for Dennis Kirk and does some live stuff for them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking maybe we'll do, I'm actually working on another project. For years I've been working on it, and I hope maybe I can finally get something going on it because I don't have time. I'm working on a documentary kind of my book.
Okay.
Like based on some of the women in there. And there are probably only a couple of women still living in that book. But I've got a couple of them on film. And I've been trying to work on this for years. So I'm actually going out in about 2 weeks to New Jersey to interview Gloria.
Oh,
I've interviewed
tremendous.
her many times before. I've known her, we've done many events together. But to actually get her on film with a real film crew and get her stories. So I can't wait to do that.
Oh, Criss. I'm so excited. That's amazing.
Oh, me too. It's just, it'd be kind of like the cherry on the top for me if I can get this thing done in the next couple of years. So.
Oh, I know you will. That's,
I hope so.
I wish you all the best of luck. I really, I cannot wait to see that. That is so exciting. That is so exactly what we all need right now. That would just be tremendous.
I love the whole history thing, and I think there's just so many stories to still tell. So I think that's kind of like, I did the book form. Now I want to do more. We'll see if I can pull it off.
Oh, you absolutely can. Let's you were just recently in Daytona. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Share some stories. What were some of your favorite events? How did it differ, if at all, from previous years you've been there?
Daytona has changed so much because a lot of stuff isn't even in Daytona anymore. It used to be Main Street, kind of, the vibe of all the people coming from all over and the riding around, some bars, things, and some shows, and the Rat's Hole show. Well, now they got this thing called Destination Daytona, which is in Ormond Beach. They kind of moved things out of Daytona. It's very spread out now. Lots of cool events, so many things going on, so many different bike shows. Mm-hmm. the old bikes, for new bikes, for the Chopper show. Harley had a show. Cycle Source had a show. Jody Perowitz, my friend Jody, had a paint show. Jody's someone you should get on your show sometime.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
She's an amazing person. But that part of it was really cool. I like the bike shows. And of course, seeing people that I hadn't seen in a while. I mean, everybody feels like they're coming out of hibernation,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But being around people, and then the Sons of Speed is kind of become the event. They started, I think, I can't remember, the first one was 2016 or 2017. It's old board track racers that they used to race on wooden tracks in the teens and 20s.
Whoa.
They were oval banked wooden tracks they used to have.
Right.
Obviously, they don't have them anymore. The danger. Back then, they didn't have a wood preservative, so they had splinters on these tracks. Can you imagine people would fall? And it was really dangerous. But this guy named Billy Lane, this friend of mine, custom bike builder, loves old bikes, decided he wanted to make a place for people to race their board track racers. So they found a track in New Smyrna Beach in 2016, him and a few friends. And one of them is Shelley Rossmeyer, who's a woman rider, whose father was Bruce Rossmeyer, who passed away years ago. But Shelley's the general manager of Rossmeyer's Harley. Her and her sister Mandy both ride. And so Shelley's actually riding her 1915 Harley Davidson on the board track.
Oh, nice.
So they had the first one in 2016. I think they had about 10 riders that first year. It's a half-mile track. They go around, and these bikes have, no gears. They're direct drive, which means just chain right to the rear wheel. No brakes, no gears, and you just go. And they're like 70, 80 miles an hour. I mean, it's just like...
How do you stop?
You don't. You turn Shelley told me a trick. You turn the gas off. You turn the gas off and coast. Yeah, but the first year, Brittany Olsen won, a girl under 23, I think it was a 23 board track race. So they call it Sons and Daughters of Speed.
Fantastic.
Anyway, so that was fun to see. Now this year, how that's changed and grown, there's like 42 riders this year. This is like since 2016. It's really grown. Yeah, it's really fun. You go in the pits and see all the guys working, and it's just all these old bikes, just to hear them run and watch these guys ride them. They're so brave, People trying to get me to ride when I'm like, no, I know my limitations. I go slow on old bikes. I don't race.
That's okay.
But it's fun to walk around the pits and see them. I think they're going to do it at Biketoberfest in October if anyone's going to be down there.
Okay.
It's called Sons of Speed. You can check it out at New Smyrna Speedway. And then, of course, they had the other races, too. They have the King of the Baggers, which is
about that,
newer bikes.
Yeah.
Patricia Fernandez won last year. I don't think she won this year, but so that's kind of cool. There's a lot of women doing some flat track racing.
Yes.
Daytona has changed. I mean, it's kind of the same in a way, the Main Street thing. There's still a lot of the same people. We just keep getting older.
Are you seeing more women riders in general? More events
definitely
geared towards women?
Yes, definitely. Even though our women's ride got rained out, we were supposed to do Biker Bells. Biker Bells started, a group of us started it in Sturgis. I think it was around 2011, maybe. And they were trying to do one in Daytona this year. Harley used to do a sponsored women's ride in Daytona every year, and it kind of dropped out a few years ago. But Harley got involved in the Biker Bells with Tony from the Buffalo Chip, Tony Woodruff from Buffalo Chip, who is also who does the Biker Bells ride in Sturgis. It's a really cool. It's a ride for charity, and you meet other women, hang out, and go for a ride. And we were gonna do one in Daytona. It got rained out.
Oh, that's a shame. I'm sorry.
I was so excited. That's really one of the reasons I went there, but it's okay because I got to go anyway. And see people. But it was fun. And I don't know how many women they had signed up, but it's really cool because you this is a way to meet other women. When you go to women's events, you're going to meet, because a lot of people don't have anyone to ride with or know other people, and that's, I think, was the hard thing. That's how the Motor Maid started. Dot Robinson got the idea. She took her like 2 years. She went around to different shops and wrote letters before they had email, stuff like that. So, So, I mean, if you just go to some events, meet some people, even HOG chapter, they have Ladies of Harley still.
Right.
Get together and do stuff. There's always just a way to connect with other women. It's kind of fun. Not that riding with men is bad, and it's fun too. But I think, and I have a lot of guys I ride with, mostly men on the old stuff, but it's fun to ride with women too.
Absolutely. That's absolutely a recurring theme of all the women that I've interviewed and talked to is that even though they love their solo time riding for the relaxation, the mental clarity, just the Zen aspect of it, they absolutely love and crave the community of riding with other women. And I think it's just priceless. It's an irreplaceable kind of experience to have that group, and that's something I certainly need to seek out, because I don't have close friends or family who ride bikes. They all think I'm nuts for wanting to ride.
Well, you're gonna, it sounds like.
I certainly am. I don't care how long it takes me. It's a challenge I set up for myself. Originally the challenge was just I'm going to get my license. I don't even care if I own a bike. It's just a challenge I set up for myself that I can do this. But now there's no way I won't own a bike. There's no way that I'm going to get to that point to have the ability to do it and not own a bike and enjoy it. So
you got the fever. You got it.
and the more ladies I talk to, the stronger it gets. So I really don't care how long it takes me to master it, whatever it takes. It's just the goal I've set for myself, and I'm going to do it. I would be so angry and disappointed in myself for not trying. People of course I'm scared. Of course I'm scared.
But what's the saying? What's the saying? Do something that scares you every day.
Yes.
I mean, I still get scared when I ride that old bike. Sometimes like, oh my God, is it going to start? Is that guy at the stop sign going to stop? I mean,
yes.
But, I think if you're not, it's called more like respect. It's not fear as much, but, respect. I mean, anything can happen to anybody. You can walk across the street. You get in the car. It doesn't matter. You can't live your life being afraid.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with you, Criss. So you may have already answered this question, but what haven't you accomplished in the motorcycle world that you still want to?
I want to do that. My documentary.
Yes.
And I don't know, just do some more rides, have some more fun, mentor some more women, some younger women.
Beautiful.
Stuff like that.
Are there any dream rides, not cannonballs, but any dream rides that you haven't done yet? Any maybe foreign countries or anywhere else in the U.S. that you haven't ridden that you'd like to try?
Ridden in Japan. That was frightening.
Really?
Through Tokyo traffic up at the mountain.
Oh, yes. Tokyo.
It was crazy. It was beautiful, but it was crazy because I didn't even know what a stop sign looked like. I was riding with a group of Japanese guys, and one guy could speak. This is people from Japan. That was fun. And then I rode in Australia. That was kind of fun.
Wow. Okay.
Being in a roundabout backwards, trying to figure out which way to get out. Australia had more roundabouts before we started getting them in our country.
I see. Okay.
No, I don't have. I've seen so many beautiful places. I think that's the thing about that I took from all these cross country rides and the Cannonballs and stuff. Because you get off the freeway, you get out into these little towns and these back roads, these little 2-lane roads, and you really see the country. I probably see more of the country. My daughter tells me, you've seen more of the country than anybody, because I get out and I've gone to these places and where I probably would have never have went there.
Of course, between you and Pat, you've done some incredible journeys across the world and the country.
Yeah, I've seen some beautiful places, and I'm very lucky, and I'm very grateful that I've had the opportunities that I've had. That I wish more people would get. So hopefully, more people will be inspired to do those. Get out. And I mean, the road to the sun and Glacier National Park was just fabulous. And I was scared to death because I'm afraid of heights. But I went up there and there's now guardrails, and I was like, don't look down. I'm in a calendar. I'm riding through a calendar. It's beautiful. Look, it was just, so those things you remember. I think it's just making memories. That's a Gloria, my friend Gloria's like, you're not going to remember all the sunny days and the beautiful rides. So you're going to remember some of those rainstorms and the struggles that you had, but then you overcome them. And that's where the most growth comes, I think, in life, is by challenging yourself to do things. And then when you do it, you're like, I did it. So, but I'm never done. I'm going to keep going, find something else weird to do. I don't know what. I want to build a bike, actually.
Please. Oh, would you like to build one? Oh,
I'm thinking about it. Build something. I see these women putting these bikes in the show. So I'm thinking, I'd like to do that. Do something fun, so I'll get some parts together and see if I can connect them.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Oh, Criss, thank you so much for being the inspiration that you are. Your story and all that you've accomplished is just beyond impressive. I when I spoke to Karen about Chicks on 66, I invited her to come back to talk about the trip. You are welcome to join her if you'd like to do that as a member of the Riveter chapter. And
Sure.
I just love to hear. I think you guys may be going to Sturgis too this summer.
I don't know what we're doing, but
Okay.
we'll see. I
Yeah.
try to make plans, but then you know what? Something comes up. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And I'd like to hear how you're doing too. So I'm going to check out your show some more.
Please. Oh, thank you. I'm very flattered.
Cool.
Thank you. But
Good for you.
I can't wait to hear all about Chicks on 66 and that ride and how that goes. I know it's going to be spectacular. Best of luck to you with your documentary. I want to see that so badly.
Me too.
Yeah, please. Oh my God. I wish you every success. And please, everyone, Coast to Coast is still available on YouTube. Please watch these episodes. They are so well done. They are so informative. I enjoyed them so much. I've only watched a handful, but they are terrific. And I love how you talk about your book. And of course, the book is still available for order. So please do that. And just follow Criss in her amazing life. She has so much to teach us all.
No, not me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being on your show and encouraging other women. That's what we do, right?
Exactly.
All right.
It's absolutely my honor. Thank you, Criss.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's all for today. Thank you so much for being here. Please follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SportBikeGirls for a complete schedule of all upcoming episodes, as well as more information about all of my amazing guests. Have a great day.